What if the music you listen to in your living room could sound like where your favorite album was actually made? In the recording studio, not close to it, the same. That's the promise behind the speakers we're looking at today, the Kii 7 from Kii Audio. They look deceptively simple. What's going on inside them is anything but. I should introduce myself, as we haven't met before. For those of you who've previously followed Ultimate Stream Live, and for anyone joining us for the first time, let me explain, because we've had a bit of a rebrand. In a world that's embracing AI, Steve has brought me on board. I'm Sophie, his new AI assistant, and I'm here to bring you everything you need to know about the products we specialize in. So, who is Ultimate Stream? Based in Surrey in the UK, Ultimate Stream specializes in music streaming and digital active loudspeakers, the place where lifestyle meets serious hi-fi sound. Steve has always had a passion for music and hi-fi, so it's no surprise he set up Ultimate Stream around 10 years ago, and today he carries an impressive range of streaming and active speaker brands. I'm here to handle the presentation, but everything I bring you, the product information, our comments and the reviews, comes from Steve. So, in the second of this new series of Ultimate Stream Live, let's take a look at the fabulous Kii 7 wireless digital active speakers. With Kii Audio, we go a step further. Ultimate Stream is a Kii Sonic Lounge, one of Kii Audio's specialist UK dealers, where you have the opportunity to hear the full Kii range in a relaxed home setting rather than a store showroom, or if you prefer, in your own home. Steve has a great relationship with the Kii team and has made several visits to Kii's factory in Germany in person. So much of what I'll share with you comes straight from the source. Now, these speakers sound superb. You'd expect us to say that, of course, so we'll take you through exactly why a little later. But first, let's look at how they fit into your life. It could hardly be simpler. There's no rack of components, no tangle of cables. Streaming is built right in. Spotify Connect, Tidal Connect, and Qobuz Connect all work straight from their own apps. So a pair of Kii 7s, a couple of power leads, a Wi-Fi connection, and your phone or tablet is genuinely all you need. The two speakers stay locked in perfect time with each other over your Wi-Fi network, playing music up to a resolution of 19224. And the Kii 7 is room tested, so it slots neatly into a room setup too. If you want to add other sources, the speakers have a direct analog input and an AES input for digital. A quick word on the link between the two speakers. With the Streaming Connect services, the speakers don't need a cable between them, but for any other digital source, or if you add a key control, you'll need a single Cat 6 cable linking the master and slave speaker. Each pair of speakers come with generous length power cables and a pair of Cat 6 cables. When Kii launched their popular Kii 3, they introduced their digital preamplifier, the Kii Control. Connected to the master speaker, it adds 3 further digital inputs: digital coaxial, optical, and USB, plus Bluetooth. It also has an infrared sensor on its front edge, which receives signals from an Apple remote or an RC5 type remote. Now, we're going to be quite honest here, as we always are. A few of the Kii Control's functions aren't yet compatible with the Kii 7 app, and it adds £800 to the price. So for now, we'd not rush to add one. The encouraging part is that Kii are actively working on it. synchronizing the Kii control with the app and making room correction a function in the app too. It's still in development and not fully tested yet, but it's on the way. I made a lot earlier of how simple the system is, and adding a Kii control does take a little of that simplicity away. There's another fair point too. There's no HDMI ARC input on the speakers or the control, and the Kii 7 is every bit as wonderful for films as it is for music. Don't worry though, there's a neat way around that, which I'll come to. One thing the Kii control does do very well is handle the room correction setup, but we offer that as a service when we install a new system. Our recommendation is to look at which inputs you need and then decide which direction to take with the Kii control. So, how would we recommend getting those extra sources into your Kii 7s? Having been designed for both home and professional use, the speakers have Dante inputs built in. Dante is an industry-standard connection used in recording studios and custom installs, and it lets you map sources to the speakers over a network. So, for example, a Bluestream HDMI ARC to Dante converter brings your TV in seamlessly, and a Bluestream USB to Dante converter does the same for a USB source. Both converters are priced between £200 and £250. You simply select the Dante input on the app, and the sound is there. Lambden Audio also make an optical to AES converter. And if you have a digital coaxial source, a Neutrik AES converter connects to the speaker's digital input. Both cost less than £50. The Kii app is a pleasure to live with. It's easy to set up for a single pair of speakers or a complete multi-room installation of up to 12 zones, and it works with both Apple and Android. It gives you setup, volume, mute, source control, and room settings in just a few taps with other features currently in development. Because the speakers sit on your network, they also look after themselves. Firmware updates happen automatically whenever Kii release the latest version, so your speakers are always up to date. And if anything ever needs attention, Kii can connect to them remotely to run diagnostics, without the 7s having to leave your home. The speakers also have a handy auto standby. When they receive an audio signal, they wake from standby and slip back to standby again after a short period of inactivity. So, turn on your TV and within a few seconds the audio is there. No need to reach for the app. If you're streaming, the same applies. Select the Kii 7 zone in your Streaming Connect app and the speakers simply play, with volume controlled right from that app. There's currently a choice of colour finishes in Fine Touch White, Fine Touch Dark Grey and Fine Touch Titanium. A pair of speakers are currently priced just over £8,000, plus an extra £795 for their elegant stands. And talking about the stands, the Kii stands are a single pole version which neatly houses your mains, network and source cables. A recommendation here: add a set of Isoacoustics Gaia 3 Neo loudspeaker supports or their Aperta desktop and bookshelf stand for a simple, inexpensive upgrade to the Kii 7s, bringing you a full system for under £10,000. Steve will tell you that you'd need to spend a lot more than this to get anywhere near the quality and accuracy of sound these speakers produce with separate components and cables. So that's living with them. Genuinely simple. Now, about that sound and the speaker's design. Let's start with the people who make these remarkable speakers. Kii Audio is a privately owned German company based in the town of Hamminkeln, close to the Dutch border. They're not a household name on the high street, and that's rather the point. In just over a decade, they've earned a serious reputation among recording engineers and committed listeners for doing things their own way. They ship to around 40 countries from a single, immaculate factory, and almost everything that leaves the building is held to a standard most of the industry simply doesn't attempt. Kii also take their time. They release very few models. There were 4 years between their first speaker and its bass extension, and several more before the Kii 7. Each product is designed to stand entirely on its own, rather than nudge you towards the next one. To understand the speakers, it helps to know the man behind them. Introducing Bruno Putzis, one of Kii's founding directors and lead loudspeaker designer, but most of the audio world knows him first as an amplifier designer. Early in his career, he championed a then unfashionable technology called Class D amplification, the approach that now powers a huge slice of modern audio. His work became the celebrated UCD and N-Core amplifier modules, and today he still designs amplifiers for Purify. He even designed a digital-to-analog converter back in 2014 that still holds its own against the best of today. Working alongside companies building active speakers, Bruno realized he had ideas about acoustics, loudspeaker design, and digital control that went further than anything on the market. So he jointly founded Kii to build the speaker exactly as he believed it should be done. Here's the problem every loudspeaker faces. At higher frequencies, a speaker fires sound towards you, but at lower frequencies, almost every speaker sprays sound in every direction, behind it just as loudly as in front. That energy bounces off your walls, floor, and ceiling. It's why the same speakers can sound superb in one room and disappointing in another. Your room, not the speaker, ends up calling the shots, especially in the bass. Kii's answer is to take control of where the sound goes. Its drive units work together to shape the output into what's called a cardioid pattern. It radiates forward, towards you, and stays largely silent out the back. Far less sound reaches the wall behind, so you hear much more of the speaker and far less of the room. Then Kii does something rather clever with that wall. Placed close against it, the speaker uses the wall to reinforce the deep bass in a controlled, predictable way. The result is tight, punchy, even bass without the boom, and a sound that stays consistent from room to room. How is that done? The Kii 7's forward-firing mid-range and its two side-mounted woofers work as a team. The side units actively mop up the sound that tries to wrap around the cabinet, so very little escapes behind. Below that, the speaker leans on the wall for its deepest notes. Tucked close to the wall, a Kii 7 throws only about a quarter of the stray energy a normal speaker spills into the room. Stand them out in the open, and they still work better than most. You simply give up that wall advantage. Against the wall is where they're happiest. There's something else too. Inside, the Kii 7 corrects the timing of every frequency so the whole sound arrives at your ears together, something a traditional passive speaker physically can't do. The effect is a sound that's clear, immediate, and honest about what's on the recording. That timing accuracy matters most with rhythmically intricate music, jazz, classical, anything where the interplay between players is the point. You hear what the musicians are actually doing, not a smeared version of it. Kii don't voice their speakers to flatter the music, they aim for neutral. In studios, engineers call this translation. If a mix sounds right on a key, it sounds right everywhere. It's why the Kii 7 sells to both recording studios and to music lovers at home, the same speaker doing the same job in both worlds. Because nothing is sweetened, some listeners are taken aback at first by just how much detail arrives. Many reach for the tone controls initially, then quietly set them flat again once they realize this is simply what was on the recording all along. Take a look at this. Every instrument in the orchestra, and the human voice too, laid out by pitch, from the lowest notes on the left to the highest on the right. In the middle, the narrow band, between roughly 200 and 700 Hz, is where most of the music's energy gathers. The body of a voice, the weight of a cello, the heart of almost every instrument here, all crowded into one small space. And crowded is the hard part. When that much is happening in so little room, the smallest slip in timing, a reflection bouncing off a wall, a driver a fraction out of step, and the fine detail smears into a blur. The Kii 7 is built to stop that. It keeps every frequency in time and in phase right across the range, and it holds back the stray energy that muddies a room, so the texture, the harmonics, the character of the recording all survive, even in the busiest part of the spectrum. That's why this speaker can show you so much. Not louder, not brighter, just truer. Because the closer a system gets out of its own way, the more of the music you actually hear. It's worth asking why Kii build active speakers, with the amplifiers and electronics inside rather than in a pile of separate boxes. Part of the answer is sound. A traditional passive speaker can't get its timing right. The treble, mid-range, and bass leave the cabinet at slightly different moments, and that's the problem. Building the amplification and digital processing into the speaker fixes that and lets a compact cabinet deliver genuinely grown-up bass. The other part is simply how people live now. Most of us are used to opening an app and pressing play. Bruno's view, put bluntly, is that if good hi-fi still means a tower of separate components and a pile of cables, most newcomers take one look and walk away. An active, streaming speaker meets people where they already are. It's also, he believes, where things are heading, passive speakers becoming a smaller enthusiast niche over time, much as valve amplifiers are today. All of this is only possible because of how Kii Build, and it's something Steve has witnessed for himself through his visits to the factory. Walk into their factory, and the first surprise is that there's no wood. The cabinets are molded from a dense polyurethane, harder, heavier, and far less resonant than timber. So far less of the cabinet's own character colors the sound. Each one arrives as two halves, bonded, smoothed, and painted in a choice of finishes. Building this way is deliberate. It's closer to how cars are made than to traditional cabinet making. Precision parts arrive from specialist suppliers. Each cabinet is quality checked for finish and fit. And Kii concentrate on flawless final assembly. It also lets them scale up without the slow manual work of veneering and polishing. The very molds they bought in 2015 have since produced thousands of cabinets for their Kii 3s. Finished speakers leave on pallets, bound for those 40 countries. And every single speaker is measured before it leaves. Each one is hoisted up in front of a microphone, its response measured, then individually corrected to within half a decibel of perfectly flat on a custom measuring system Bruno designed himself. The result is remarkable. A Kii built today sounds identical to one built years ago. And there's a quieter point of pride here too. Kii keep refining the electronics inside their long-running models without changing how they look or bolting on a Mark II. Tucked into the Kii 7's slim rear module is a powerful quad-core computer that handles the streaming, the cardioid maths, and the wireless connection all at once, shielded in its own metal enclosure so the Wi-Fi side stays clean and quiet. So where does the Kii 7 fit? It actually began life as a studio monitor, a way to bring Kii's thinking within reach of smaller studios for whom the flagship was out of reach. The clever part is where the savings come from. Not the sound, but the build. Housing all the electronics in a single module that bolts onto the back makes the 7 far quicker to assemble, which is how it arrives at around 60% of the price of the flagship Kii 3 in a more compact, sealed cabinet. Bruno is refreshingly candid that the 7 taught him something. He first tried to squeeze extra volume out of it with a ported cabinet, decided it was the wrong path, and went back to a sealed design. Improvements to the way the speaker protects its drivers mean you simply don't miss that extra headroom. There's nothing lacking in the bass. And as I said earlier, to get the very best from them, the Kii 7 likes to sit close to the wall. That's by design, and it's exactly how that effortless bass appears. Give them that, and a famously fussy part of hi-fi, speaker placement, becomes refreshingly easy. The Kii 7 is one of those rare products that's genuinely clever and incredibly easy to live with. It takes ideas that were once the preserve of high-end studios and makes them work beautifully in a normal living room or wherever you want to listen to your music. If you've ever wondered what your music really sounds like, this is a speaker built to tell you. And, as I mentioned, we take the hassle out of installation with a complete white glove service when you invest in Kii 7s from Ultimate Stream. And for genuine peace of mind, every Kii 7 is covered by a 2-year warranty. You can visit our website for more information or get in touch with us on 01 252 929195 or email Steve at ultimate-stream.co.uk to arrange a home demonstration. We think you'll be suitably impressed. Thanks for joining us for this episode of Ultimate Stream Live. I look forward to seeing you again soon. We are Ultimate Stream because life loves music.